very cool. Like when I was digging the ground, there's lots of larvae in the ground, like dragonfly larvae in the pond. So every time I see one of those guys, I try to put them back. But it's pretty hard to not to kill something when you start digging in the ground. Yeah, so when I start digging in the pond, I also got to fill all these holes I've been digging in the backyard here. When I put the fill around the foundation, because it's got the foam and the vapor barrier on it, you can't put any aggregate. There can't be any aggregate like rocks and anything pokey, because it'll poke into the membrane. So I needed to put really fine sand around the base. So that's why I dug those holes there, or dug this big area out here, because it's all really fine sand and there's no gravel or rocks in it. So, and I use that to backfill around the house, or finish backfilling around the house anyway. And so when your truck breaks down and you don't have a trailer for your smart car, you use your wife's SUV. So I got 2 more scaffold sections, and I strapped it to the roof of the wife's SUV, and it looks like I didn't do any damage to it. Originally, when I had this scaffolding on the back of the dump truck, it was another 4 feet higher, and then it worked just great. I could reach the peak with a little step ladder, but now that it's on the dolly, it's a little bit lower, so I'm going to add 1 more section to it. And with the dolly, like with all the scaffolding collapsed, like if I take it all apart and then see those rods sticking up on the dolly, the scaffolding sits on there, and the cross braces go on the side. So this dolly can store 4 sections of scaffolding, and just store it flat on the dolly, and then when you go somewhere, you just break down everything, put it flat on the dolly, strap it down, roll it up onto the trailer, roll it down on the job site, reassemble it, and you can go 4 sections high. So that's pretty cool. So that's about 21 feet, 22 feet. Yeah, it's still hardening. Hasn't even turned white yet. Yeah, so that, well, this one's definitely a lot harder than the other stuff. Yeah, the other one I could like break bits off of it. So it's still hardening. So the downside with using partially set up concrete is it takes so long to get hard. I suppose I could have went to the concrete supply place and got some additive for it, but see, this one's turning white already. It's pretty much like, that's a lot harder than what it was. So this one's all grayed out. This one's still really dark. It's not set up yet, so this one needs a couple more days. What do I say, it's like a week. Like when you pour a garage floor, usually takes about a week for it to set up properly, say, before you can put any real weight on it, or a week or 2. But it gets to 70% within the first 24 hours, something like that. But these ones don't get to full strength like that, or get to 70% like that. These ones will take about 5-6 days. So yeah, I'm a little bit worried that the base is too heavy for the plastic culvert to handle when I go try to pick up on it, but we'll see. It should be okay. This one I put the anchor bolts in it, so I just make a little strap and bolt it down there, or a chain. I'll bolt down a chain on all those and then just pick it up with the anchor bolts, and that's a lot safer than picking it up with the plastic culvert. Because even though this culvert is big, there's a lot more concrete on the base of that one than there is on this one. So probably like 400 pounds of concrete there, maybe 200-300 pounds here. So it's a fair amount of weight. Definitely got to go get a bin. Need to go to work for a few days, make enough money to afford a garbage bin, and then just get it parked out here, and I load up all the plastic and junk. This is still the plastic tarp building and some construction garbage left over. I got all kinds of bags of construction garbage on the other side I got to load up and have taken to the dump. Or either I get my truck going and just take it myself, but I think a bin is best until I get the dump situation figured out. Maybe I'll take a couple practice runs to the garbage dump with something I know they're not going to reject. I don't know, maybe it's not as strict as I thought, but I've been working in Vancouver the last few years, and they're really strict there. They want you to put it in transparent plastic bags so they can see it. And then I never actually went there, but I had to prepare a lot of the site garbage from the construction site, so we had to prep it in a certain way where the guy could come pick it up and he wouldn't have any trouble dropping it off. So yeah, they wanted everything in clear plastic bags. Drywall had to be separate, steel had to be separate, and then you just have your regular waste. Wood is separate, so everything's separated out, everything in clear plastic bags so they can see if you're cheating or not. But so I don't know, hopefully it's not that strict here. Hopefully I can just throw everything in a bag and then just dump it in there. I think it's like that, but I gotta do some practice runs first to find out if I'm gonna get in shit once I go there, or have to pay a extra fee for them having to sort the garbage out of the bag. I don't know. What is that? Himalayan sea salt. Oh, I was trying to give salt to the moose. That's what that was. Yeah, wife said, oh, you should get one of those salt licks. A moose is like a horse, you know, pretty close to a horse. So it needs all the minerals and all that other things too. And I don't know how much it gets from eating trees. Well, it gets enough to grow, I guess, and what it needs, but I'm sure it would have appreciated some salt. So I was leaving little piles of salt by the pond for them. I don't know if they licked any of it, but I don't know. I have to, this year, if I remember, I'm gonna get them a salt lick and put it there. So I got 2 new scaffolding frames, and they're $100 a piece. Well, not quite, 98 bucks a piece, but they come with the connectors. I think, I can't remember, the coupling, scaffold coupling. So they came with the scaffold couplings, and Home Depot charges 12 bucks for one of these. My original plan was to go to, we have a scaffolding place in town, or in the city, nearest city, and they sell used scaffolding there, and the scaffold frames are like 30-40 bucks for a used scaffold frame. So I thought that was a pretty good deal, and I went there. To try to get a used scaffold frame, but they're all out of the used ones. I guess everyone's buying them, so I had no choice but to go to Home Depot and pay the 98 bucks. But while I was at the used scaffold place, I bought 4 couplers, because I used the couplers for that section on the base. I cut them and I welded them to the scaffold dolly. So I needed 4 couplers to connect the next section. So I went to the used scaffold place and I got 4 couplers because they're cheaper there. They're 7 bucks or something, 7 bucks a coupler, whereas Home Depot was 12 bucks. So I got 4 couplers, and then I bought those 2 new sections at Home Depot, and they have the couplers already in them. So I didn't actually have to get these, but they'll work none the same. Or they'll work all the same. And then when I go get another section, maybe I'll get a half section. And if the half section doesn't come with couplers, then that's fine. Or maybe the used scaffold place will have a half section. Mind you, I should be using bigger pins than these for the scaffolding, but these work. And then if you are off level or off center and the scaffold moves, then you have a little bit of movement where you can tell if you're overdoing it, because you really should stay within the footprint of the scaffold. If you're doing something where the scaffold wants to tip and all your pins are solid and you don't know it's tipping, you may overload it and, you know, tip the whole scaffold over, as opposed to you know, just like separating a section. So it's always best to have the pin a little bit smaller than the hole, and you can put them in and take them out easier. This way you can tell if you're overloading one side of the scaffold, it'll move a little bit. You can tell if you're tipping it before you know, disaster. Yes, almost time for a new car for the wife, so I don't want to damage this one and scrape it all up. Got to maintain the resale value. Hopefully the COVID prices are still in effect when I go to trade it in. But I don't know, might decide to keep it because it's paid off now. But everything's going electric too, so I really want to get my wife an electric hybrid. I was hoping they have like a diesel electric hybrid, a diesel electric plug-in hybrid, you know, where you could plug it in and just use the electric motor, or you could drive on the diesel engine, and then when you get to town you use the electric motor, because electric charging stations aren't there yet, and I do a lot of traveling. Same with my wife, we'll do a lot of traveling, so we need to be able to drive across country if have to, in the event that have to. Like say I'm like 3 provinces over and I break down, I want to know that my wife is going to be able to come save me in her nice car, you know. So got to have a vehicle that can go across the country without having to stop at the charging stations and spend 2 out of the 3 days traveling charging, you know. So yeah, electric cars are pretty great and pretty awesome, and it's something I hope to get into one day, but at the moment they're not quite there yet. Just the infrastructure's not there, and if everybody switched to electric cars, you know, the electricity grid can't handle it, you know. So it's growing at a snail's pace unless someone takes it seriously. And right now, with them trying to raise the price of gas and all that other shit, it's just a cash grab and a way to control people. They're just trying to consolidate their control and restrict people's travel for whatever reason. Who knows what those freaking ding-dongs are thinking, you know. A lot of these things, like they have all the immigrants running across the border and they're lying about it, you know, like why do they need to lie about it? That's what I don't understand. You know, like say if they were to come out and say, okay, well, you know, our debt has reached a certain point where we can't possibly pay it off, and we need to increase our population to increase the amount of debt we can borrow. You know, maybe the country would agree with it. It's all freaking bullshit run by incompetent people. You know, instead of working with their populace, they're just lying to them and doing whatever the frig they want. You know, it's a really sick thing. You know who doesn't want the world to come together and work together, you know? But all these incompetent fuckers, they think they got, well, for one, they're probably doing all kinds of backdoor deals and they're all fucking criminals. And for another, they just it's easier just to lie and just do whatever they want rather than respect people. So it's very fucked, in other words. Anyway, that's my 2 cents. Eventually that's gonna correct itself, and the kids are gonna say, well, fuck you idiots, you know, you're a bunch of morons, you know, you're screwing everything up and you're still idiotic, just spending your day just to enjoy your day, and you're not caring about anything other than yourself, you know. And then they start taking action, which is hopefully what's going to happen. So I don't know, world is it's up in the air how things are going to go. Next generation could just go straight into the metaverse and be a total useless bunch of piles of crap sitting in a chair, being a product of a computer instead of being a real person, living in the real world, the real verse, instead of living in the metaverse. 70s and on, things have been just getting worse and worse every year. Inflation getting higher and higher. You know, I think the peak of society was like the 1990s, and ever since then it's just starting to go downhill. You know, music was better, films were better, you know, things were more real. I don't think too many people are paying attention, but I appreciate the 90s nowadays. Yes. There we go, there's one. So if you saw when I was putting that top section of scaffold on, when I stepped on that deck, it kicked back, slid on the rail. So I'm gonna go get some wire and I'm gonna wire it tight to the one side of the scaffolding, so when I do go step on the roof, I don't want it to slide back and then I fall down. So there we go. That'll keep it from sliding over. Now it's time for an experiment. And the experiment is going to be, if I pour water on all this old concrete and I bring my little roller packer out here and pack it hard, will it become a surface I can drive on without breaking apart and turning into loose sand again? And I rolled out this pack of dirt here, this pack of sand. Need a lot of water to do it properly. I didn't put enough water there. I should have, like, to do it properly, need the water hose on that for like an hour, get this whole area just soaking wet, and then so you don't just make a layer of mud with the concrete on the surface, because that's all I was doing. I'm just making little mud bits on the top. So you need a lot of, to do this right, you need a lot of concrete, need to wet the area very well. You would have had to go with a rototiller and rototill in a bunch of concrete, like the top 1 foot. So if you throw a whole shitload of, like a bag per square foot, I would say, or a bag every 2 square feet, and then rototill in the top foot with your rototiller, or top 6 inches or 8 inches, whatever, what have you. And then after you get everything all rototilled nice, then soak the whole area. Just get it soupy, like, well, not too soupy, but get it wet so the water is soaked down at least a foot. Or soak it, let it sit, and then come with the roller, and then just pack it really really well. Because right now all I did was wet the top layer with concrete on it, and I'm just going to have a whole bunch of concrete gravel once it sets up on there.